The UK is currently being battered by a mutant superflu this winter. Experts say the new variant, nicknamed Subclade K or H3N2, is more infectious and could cause more severe illness than standard flu. At least 6 hospitals have declared critical incidents after being overwhelmed with cases of the bug. And several schools have been forced to close their doors or bring back COVID-style rules like no singing in assemblies or no Christmas dinners, as hundreds of kids are off sick. Flu cases are very high for this time of year, and they show no signs of dipping in the lead up to Christmas. Last week, an average of 1,700 patients were in hospital with flu, more than 50% higher than the same time last year. And experts now predict this number could rise to 8,000 by next week. The best way to protect yourself is to get a free flu vaccine if you are eligible. Bear in mind, it takes 2 weeks for protection to kick in. Don't send your kids to school if they are ill, and don't go to work if you are experiencing symptoms.
At least 22 people have died following the collapse of 2 buildings in the Moroccan city of Fez in the early hours of Wednesday. 16 others were injured in the building collapse. The 2 4-story buildings collapsed in the space of mere minutes during the night. Rescue efforts were underway on Wednesday to find remaining survivors. The 2 residential buildings reportedly housed 8 families at the time of the incident. The origins of the events are not yet confirmed, and local authorities have launched an investigation. Some residents, however, blamed unregulated construction, and local media reported signs of deterioration on the buildings in question.
A new shock has hit the battlefield tonight, not from artilleries, not from drones, but from the sky, where Ukraine has just lost one of its most prestigious fighter jet. And you know what? The timing could not be more explosive here. You're watching Times XP. My name is Smriti Atri, and here we are talking about Su-27 that fell and a hero is lost. Ukraine has confirmed that a Su-27 fighter jet, one of its top air superiority aircraft, has gone down during a dangerous combat mission. The pilot, unfortunately, he did not survive. A decorated officer we are talking about, a veteran flyer, and now another name added to Ukraine's long list of fallen air warriors. In the meantime, Russia claims a kill, and Russia is bragging about it. Within minutes, Russian military channels began celebrating. They claimed that their forces shot down the jet over the Kharkiv region, that their missile system locked on, launched, and ended the mission in seconds. They are calling it proof of Russia's superiority, but Ukraine is not confirming that version of the event. Officials say that the exact cause is under review right now, which in wartime language means only one thing. Something bigger may have happened, something that they are not ready to reveal here. Also, it's a loss that Ukraine cannot ignore. The Su-27 isn't just any aircraft. It's a frontline fighter built to dominate the sky. And every time Ukraine loses one, its already limited air fleet becomes even smaller. Well, this is the 4th year of the war, and Ukraine's air force is stretched thin. Missile threats, drone swarms, Russian jets involving their tactic. Every single day, the sky becomes deadlier, and with Russia upgrading its air defense system, be it faster radars, be it smarter interceptors, the risk of Ukrainian pilots, it is skyrocketing.
As tensions between the United States and Venezuela continue to climb, American fighter jets just made their closest known approach to Venezuelan airspace in years. The Pentagon flew 2 FA-18 fighter jets over the Gulf of Venezuela on Tuesday. The nearest U.S. military aircraft have come to the country's airspace since the Trump administration launched its expanded anti-drug mission in the region. A U.S. defense official told Fox News the flight was a routine training mission meant to show how far the aircraft can operate, but it comes amid a broader buildup. American forces were also seen unloading trucks and heavy equipment from military ships in Puerto Rico, a visible expansion of the U.S. footprint in the Caribbean. President Trump has said land operations are coming, though he's offered no timeline on specifics. Since September, the U.S. has carried out multiple strikes on what it says are drug smuggling boats off Venezuela's coast. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro claims the U.S. is using those missions as cover to try to force him from power. And now one of those early strikes is facing scrutiny on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers are demanding Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth release the full, unedited video of a follow-up strike that killed 2 survivors of the initial attack. Hegseth said Tuesday he's still deciding whether to make that footage public.
Yes, please. You spoke to some European leaders today, I think, sir, about Ukraine. Could you tell us about that? And
the leaders of France, we spoke to, Germany, and UK, all very good leaders, very good friends of mine, and we discussed Ukraine in pretty strong words, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we're waiting to hear answers before we progress. We'll find out. Look, there are a lot of things happening right now. A lot of people say it's closer than it's ever been. It's a war that would have never started. If I were president, would have never started. It's a war that should never have started. But we'll have it figured out, I think, within a pretty short
when
time.
you say very strong terms, sir, can you explain that?
Well, I think we had some little disputes about people, and we're going to see how it turns out.
And when you say that the European leaders want to have a meeting over the weekend, are you talking about with Zelensky or with them?
With Zelensky and us.
And you said in an interview yesterday that you think it's time for Zelensky to start accepting things. What things are you talking about?
I think he has to be realistic, and I do wonder about, how long is it going to be till they have an election? It's democracy. It's a long time. They haven't had an election in a long time. It's losing a lot of people. And I do say, at what point, when do they have an election in Ukraine? That's not casting dispersions on anybody, but they do have a massive corruption situation going on there. And they do say, when are they, people are asking this question, when do they have an election? Are they going to have an election? Or are they going to just keep it going like this? So I think it's time to get that war settled. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so.
Can you explain a little more about this Venezuelan oil tanker and share a little more information?
Well, I'll let the people do it, but you see the result, and I guess they probably have released the pictures by now, or pretty soon. You'll discuss that with the appropriate people later on, but no, it was seized for a very good reason.
The oil tanker, who owns that oil tanker?
You'll get that information later.
Okay, and have you spoken to Maduro since your last conversation?
No, I
It's
haven't.
only been one conversation.
No.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. What happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You're a good newsman, just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it was going? Was it going to
Follow it.
China?
Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But
Cuba?
we're going to, I assume we're going to keep the oil. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening. Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where
Follow,
it's going? Was it
follow
going
it.
to
Get a
China?
helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're
Cuba?
gonna. I assume we're gonna keep the oil.
Stabu 7. We've got some updates to what they're expecting here at Seattle's Pride match. If you don't know, Seattle is going to be the place where they're having a lot of these soccer events, and this is going to attract a lot of people. And as you can see on the left, they've decided that they're going to have this be their Pride match. And one of the big things about that is the two teams playing at the bottom, Egypt and Iran, who religiously have a different viewpoint on all that when it comes to the whole pride stuff. And it's a clash. You can also see on the right, if you missed it, The Economist magazine cover, telegraphing all the chaos that's going to break loose in 2026, and it just so happens that it's on a soccer ball. You can see the little guy right down here kicking it. With all the things that I pointed out in a separate video going on here, with the economy, set the tank, and with Trump pointing at it, and all these other things that, again, I covered in another video. This is ominous. It stood out before, and now it stands out even more. And it raises the question, is one of these events going to get targeted or attacked? Well, a lot of signs pointing that the stage is set for something to go down. And these areas really do stick out to be ones that could be targeted big time. So it's telegraphed out there on The Economist magazine. And with this type of setting in Seattle, we'll just have to wait and see what comes of it.
All right, a tremor in Washington and Europe feels the quake. A single bill and a single signature could potentially shatter the world's biggest military alliance. And now all that is set to change if President Trump decides to walk the talk. The question, of course, hangs heavy in the air. Will Donald Trump sign the bill to withdraw the United States from the NATO military alliance? Our next report gets you the details.
Cars of power roll past Capitol Hill, but inside, tension is peaking. A new bill calling for the complete withdrawal of the United States from NATO. The opening shot is sharp. European capitals from Berlin to Warsaw buzz with fear. Leaders whisper about contingency plans. Diplomats scramble behind closed doors, because if Washington steps back, the world's most powerful military alliance could be left wobbling on one leg. Republican Thomas Massie introduced a bill, H.R. 6508, the NATO Act, where he calls it not a Trusted Organization Act. Massie calls NATO as a Cold War relic and asserts that Pentagon should use the money to defend the homeland and not socialist countries. Trump has long echoed that sentiment. He wants Europe to pay more, rearm faster, and stop depending on American security subsidies. His message has been blunt. Buy American weapons, spend more on defense, prove your worth. Trump has also halted military aid to Ukraine. Instead, he wants Europe to buy it from US.
Billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield.
And now Europe is staring at the nightmare. It never wanted the possibility that the US might walk away. Months earlier, warnings were already flashing. US had cautioned NATO allies in June.
But our message is going to continue to be clear. It's deterrence and peace through strength, but it can't be reliance. It cannot and will not be reliance on America.
For decades, the continent relied on Article 5. The sacred promise that an attack on one is an attack on all. Without the US, that guarantee loses its firepower. The fear in major European capitals is not just losing a partner, but losing the massive military apparatus that projects peace across the continent. The threat of withdrawal pushes Europe toward a frantic scramble for rearmament and self-sufficiency, forcing an unprecedented restructuring of its military framework. The looming political storm in Washington remains the single greatest unquantifiable variable holding the fate of the post-war world order in the balance.
Russia was plotting to blow up planes heading to the US as part of its escalating sabotage campaign, security sources revealed. In July 2024, DHL parcels exploded in warehouses across the UK, Poland and Germany. Each of the payloads was powerful enough to have brought down the cargo planes if they had exploded on board. Security services eventually tracked the plot back to a group of Russian-led saboteurs, with 6 kilograms of further explosives found. They believe that the material had been saved for another attack on America. Had the plot succeeded, it would have inflicted more disruption to the airline industry than any terror attack since 9/11. While authorities were able to foil the plan this time, this near miss was just one strand in a web of terror being waged against the West. The intelligence community assesses that far more is going on behind the scenes than people realise. Authorities have already foiled plots to derail crowded trains, burn down shopping centres and breach dams to poison water supplies. This is all said to be part of Russia's hybrid warfare against the West.
And Japan is feeling the heat. First it was China and now Russia is also piling on some pressure. The two superpowers are now testing the resolve of Tokyo. Japan, which is already facing heat from China over its comments on Taiwan, is now witnessing a new threat on the horizon. Our next story takes a close look at the two Asian giants that are moving their pieces as Japan is feeling the pressure. Take a look.
Tokyo woke up to a new threat. Russian and Chinese bombers roared in the skies above, conducting joint patrols right on Japan's doorstep. It all happened in the wee hours on Tuesday. Russian Tu-95 strategic bombers met two Chinese H-6 bombers for an 8-hour patrol from the Sea of Japan to the East China Sea. While Moscow and Beijing call them routine flights, Tokyo is anxious because both the heavy bombers are built to carry nuclear weapons. The horror of these weapons of mass destruction is painfully etched in Japan's collective memory. Along with these frontline bombers, China and Russia also sent their fighter jets. China deployed its J-16 fighters, which were joined by Russian battle-tested Su-30s. Their route raises suspicion and anxiety in Japan. The bombers flew between Japan's Okinawa and Miyako Islands, right through the heart of Japan's air defense zone. In response, Japan scrambled jets and implemented air defense identification measures. South Korea too said that 7 Russian and 2 Chinese planes entered its air defense zone. The message to Tokyo is clear: a China-Russia united front over Japan's skies, a warning which the island nation can't ignore.
The repeated joint bomber flights by both countries signify an expansion and intensification of activities around our nation, and we cannot but view them as a show of force against Japan. We consider this a matter of grave concern for our national security.
The escalation comes days after Japan accused Chinese jets of locking radar at Japanese military aircraft. Beijing disputes the charge. It has released an audio clip to show that prior warnings were issued and confirmed before the incident took place. Taiwan too is on the tenterhooks. China has sent its aircraft carrier warship via the Miyako Strait. The region is now on the edge. What began as a war of words over Taiwan now threatens to blow up into a new theatre of war in East Asia. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.